Welcome everyone. Today we have a new farming build for Warlock in last epoch. Looking behind me, I really wanted to show my movement speed before the monsters kills me. So let me just quickly show you guys at the start. I was like, okay, get ready, open the screen. So I was able to achieve over 110 maximum movement speed with Warlock using different haste effect and also using different skill combinations. And in this video, I really want to make a video that provides you guys with the fastest farming build for Warlock for me at the moment, while preserving some damage and also survivability. So yes, this is my updated version of the Warlock using a few minor adjustments. In the future, I'll be adjusting our Warlock with better gears and also better crafting, but at the moment, I really want to farm fast for the Monolith and also for the Echoes. And because I'm pushing for higher corruption, as you can see in the background, I'll be making a Monolith guide as well, but I really want to share you guys the update of my Warlock and also the version I'm currently using. So you can see behind me, I'm currently pushing 140, 150, 160 corruption, and I'm pushing quite quickly using this particular build. And while we're showcasing this particular build, you can see the speed of the Warlock. And also I'm moving too fast, sometimes I can't click. I have to say the looting system, I need auto loot. Where's my Diablo 3 pet with Goblin Ride? So right away you can see, our movement speed with Warlock is quite nice, especially using Transplant that provide us with more frenzy and also more haste. Together with the ability to gain a lot of mana with Transplant and our perk into more mana refund with our Fisher, I don't have much of a mana problem anymore, and this allows me to use my chaotic bot more often, dealing tons of more damage. And usually fighting any of the elites and also bosses, you just have to aim at the boss or the elite and they will melt in seconds. Well, this one's a rogue, so I couldn't aim. It was actually jumping too fast. So the Warlock build is actually quite nice. I would say it's even stronger than my Falconer at the moment, and I'll showcase you guys a little more. Now, if you have noticed, I am farming through the map super fast, and I was getting a lot of items across. So with my more strict loot filter, I was only getting tier 7 items, which we'll talk about in the later part of this video about the update in the loot filter for the Warlock and also for the Falconer. So for each of those echoes, it takes me less than 1 minute to run. And this is because of the mobility and also the, flexibility of the Warlock. And also having a strict loot filter really help you progress faster into the game. And as you can see with the Warlock, I'll be getting a few shines, and once I get the shines, getting over to quest objectives and killing enemies is not a problem. Currently running about 150, 160 corruption level, and I can easily push for 200 after recording this video, and this is why we're making the recording, right? Now, in case you guys are wondering about dealing with single target and also bosses, so here's a small demonstration to fight one of the Echo bosses. I wouldn't say we're the strongest single target, but it is really good. So here is about corruption 150 with a boss, and you can see we don't really have a problem. And our high mobility allows us to dodge through the skills. I'm planning to showcase my Falconer build as well with over 130 movement speed. Yes, I'm really into movement speed right now. Not much for damage and also for everything else, but the movement speed is lovely. But the damage for the Warlock is not bad. You can see, I would say this is a A tier bossing build just because of sheer amount of damage over time and damage we're stacking onto the boss. And within seconds, I think less than 30 seconds, we killed this boss and we got tons of loot while pushing for corruption. So 157 during the recording of this video, and I'll be 200 very soon after recording. Now I have imported my build at level 90 for my Warlock. Yeah, leveled up pretty fast. So I'll provide the builder's guide for you guys, and later in the video, we'll also talk about the potential to transitioning into stronger items by crafting to uniques into legendaries and also potentially getting other items for the Warlock. So I want to make a variety of build to start planning for different gears for the Warlock so we can try different build. And yes, we'll go through that on the second part. Now briefly going through the highlights of the build, we'll be auto-casting multiple spells with Chaotic Rupture, which allows us to cast automatically Rip Blood and also Curse, Bone Curse. And this is why I rarely use my Rip Blood or my Bone Curse anymore. With my Transplant, I will be blinking to enemies, auto-casting Bone Curse again, and this also allows me to gain mana on hit and also to gain mana flatly. So if I use all my mana and I blink, I get mana back, and this is a good combination for me to constantly restoring my mana. And notice my mana is low, I blink, I get tons of mana back. And if you blink onto enemies, you get even more mana. Now I have added all 3 points into the mana reduction and also mana refund onto my cosmetic fissure. And this allows me to have less mana problem while sacrificing some other points into more spirits. This is a personal choice. If I remove those points, come over here, I will deal even more damage. Now if you guys haven't seen our previous Warlock guide, it is an upgraded build compared to the previous guide. And I do recommend having a look at that video for more detailed explanation of the skills. I'll have the links available for you guys. So coming over to the updates, well, I have a lot of resistance and really hyped because I just got this particular, I think this is a tier 7 drop and it's almost a max roll for the resistance, elemental resistance. So with me, I max my resistance after. And if you have seen my previous video about crafting my legendary, I did craft my Mad Alchemist wand to increase necrotic damage. I'm not saying this is the best stuff to use, but at the moment I'm having some fun with debuffing enemies and also ability to do some more damage over time. Now I will be planning to craft my helmet into a legendary once I get the legendary potential. I haven't found that one. So in terms of the gears, this isn't anything too fancy. We're stacking with necrotic damage, necrotic penetration if we can, critical strike, multipliers, critical chance, necrotic resistance, and also tons of movement speed. I was quite fortunate to get this 27% movement speed onto the boots. Now ideally, I do want to find a boots with implicit that increase haste effect, and this will be amazing to get my build over 130 or 150 movement speed because of the increase of haste effect. Now in terms of the skills and also passives, there isn't that massive change compared to the previous build. I have the builders guide available for you guys to follow. Now in terms of the passives, I had a comment saying my passives is all over the place. Just bear in mind guys, I'm still new to the Warlock class and testing a few things. And in terms of the passives, I am getting Fleeting Cone, which allows us to have increased haste effect. And this allows us to move so much faster as we kill enemies. And I'm really having a good time using this particular perk. Yes, I'm sacrificing some points in intelligence and also vitality, but having the haste effect, as you can see in the replay, I was clearing out the maps within less than a minute each of the map, and it's really fun to be really speedy. Now one thing I have noticed, that I am a little squishy because I was taking Aspect of Death. I'm getting bonus health, but I'm getting constant stacks of damage onto myself, which is actually a pretty painful debuff. But I do get some more increased damage. If you find yourself to be dying as a Warlock, you can unspec 5 points out of this one. Quite important to know guys, as you're gonna see in the replays, I'm constantly getting Aspect of the damage stacks. So notice it's 7 over here, sometimes it goes to 20, 30 or even 50. Sometimes when it goes over 50 it kills me, so just be careful. Aspect of the Dam is a debuff that gives us more damage. But because I'm not using the item that gives me even more damage with the wand, Aspect of the Dam could kill us if you stack too much. So here I was stacking over to 10 constantly, and sometimes I get over to 40 and even 50 and kills me. Now on the topic of loot filter, I know I mentioned about loot filter several times. You can see that I'm constantly updating my loot filter for Warlock and also for Falconer. When you see the loot filter, well, you're going to see 2 versions. There will be a tier 6 version, there will be a tier 7 version, and the tier 7 will be more strict. And if you're not playing Falconer, you can unclick that says Falconer on it, everything that says Falconer on it, and only look for Warlock items. If you're planning to play Falconer and Warlock, well, this is a great loot filter for both of that. It is still a work in progress guys, and I have made a video of my plans to add even more class and builds into the loot filter, while updating this current loot filter with different variety of build. So on a small topic, I said I'll mention what build I'm looking for. I'm currently looking for a legendary potential on helmet. I'm also currently looking for this particular 2-handed staff and also this particular unique relic from the boss. So you can see the name of those items. After that, I'm also looking for this particular blade with dagger, and also I am looking for those low life setup of gears. I have the links of those particular build available for you guys, but just to not confuse you guys, I'll try to not overload you guys with different build. I'm planning to try all those builds with Warlock and see which one fits my playstyle and which I like the most. I also really want this wand, which fits well with my damned setup to deal even more damage. Now one of the biggest highlights of a build is the ability to gain more haste. So here we'll be gaining frenzy and also haste every time we transplant. Every time we teleport. Usually I will teleport into the enemy because if you remember, we have the ability to curse enemies as we teleport. So here if you blink, you teleport, all of a sudden 80% movement speed. And this lasts for 3 seconds. And your transplant will have a cooldown of 5.2 seconds. So almost 60% uptime of haste and also frenzy all the time, simply just by blinking into enemies or blinking anywhere. So this is really mobile and I'm really having a good time farming really fast using this method. Now finally, if you're fighting bosses or single target monsters after blinking into enemies, I will be constantly casting my chaotic bolt while having the fissure underground. So notice here my rotation will be that I'll cast my fissure, and then what I do is I'll blink onto enemies and also constantly casting my chaotic bolt. Because our mana management with our skills and also combinations is a little better, you have the ability to constantly casting chaos bolt most of the time and dealing even more damage using this particular setup. So briefly going through our skill rotations. It is quite straightforward, and as you can see, while gaining the haste effect from the shine, and if you do find a water shine, together with your haste, you'll be unstoppable. You have constantly lower cooldowns, you have so much mana again, and you're moving around so much faster. What I do usually is, with a strict loot filter, I'm trying to leaving my fissure behind me or in front of me after I teleport, and this usually kills everything. While getting over to the boss, just be a little careful because you're stacking a lot of the damn stacks which could potentially kill you. And if you really don't find yourself dying a lot, you can unspec those points I mentioned earlier. And as for the map clearing, because I have a more strict loot filter, I'm clearing the map very fast. I'm looting very few items, only looking for tier 7 items now because I want to be a little more strict. I'm hoping to get better craftings onto legendary potential with a minimum of tier 7. You will be looking for shines, and because sometimes you move fast, it can be a little harder to click onto items. Again, I blink, I cast my fissure, and if I want a single target, I cast my chaotic bolt. And that's all the button I'm pressing. Usually you're only pressing 2 buttons, you blink, you cast fissure. You blink, you cast fissure. And if you need more mana, you can blink onto enemies and gain tons of mana. And that's pretty much for the rotations. And I think you guys will have the hang of it. I'm not using my Rip Blood anymore, I'm also not using my Bone Curse, because those skills are automatically casted. Now should I feel the need to increase my damage, I can always manually cast my Chaotic Bolt. But sometimes when enemies jump around, you might have a little problem, as you can see over here. He keeps jumping, I was like, stop moving. Now briefly showcasing the build in terms of damage against one of the bosses. I'm farming this dragon because I want my Warlock relic, they haven't dropped yet. So this is about chaos, this is a corruption 150-ish boss, and you can see we don't have any problems, and we melted this boss within 30 seconds of the fight. In terms of most bosses, just be aware guys, you don't want to be face tanking the boss, because I'm having the damn debuff on myself to do a little more damage, and in return I'm constantly losing HP because of damage over time. But you can see the boss doesn't really stand a chance to us, and I'm just skip a little bit to show you, and I was able to get some really nice blessings just because of this boss. I've been farming this boss non-stop, so I was able to get the 72% narcotic resistance. The maximum will be 75% from this boss. Now what I do now is I provide you guys with a short replay of the fights as I play through the map, as I'm leveling up my character and also getting higher corruption. If you have any questions, you have any tips on the build in terms of Warlock, please let me know in the comments. I'm still quite new as Warlock, but I do want to share my version of the build that I enjoy the most.